Let's talk about something that flips the entire dating game on its head. Triggering a woman's fear of losing you. Not begging for her attention. Not over-explaining your worth. Not chasing her when she pulls away. But shifting the energy so she's the one who starts thinking, what if I lose this guy? Welcome back to the channel. If you're a man who's tired of constantly giving and not getting anything back, if you've been the one trying to prove yourself, win her over, or stay on her radar, you need to hear this. Because most guys are playing the game backwards. They're so focused on keeping a woman interested that they never give her the space to fear losing them. And that's where everything goes wrong. Women don't chase comfort. They chase emotional impact. And one of the strongest emotions you can trigger is loss. Not through drama, not through manipulation, but by building such a strong presence, such undeniable self-respect, that the idea of not having you starts to bother her. That's when her behavior changes. That's when she starts putting in real effort. The truth is, most men never experience this shift because they don't even know it exists. They're too available, too eager, too easy to reach. And in that comfort, she loses interest. She doesn't think she could lose you, so she never values what she has. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to change that. You'll learn how to carry yourself, how to move, and how to create the kind of dynamic where women don't just want you, they're afraid to lose you. Before we start the video, I want to remind you that my exclusive online course on mastering the dating game is available now. If you've been learning from my YouTube videos, you're only scratching the surface. This course goes deeper, teaching you everything you need to know about the dating game, from approaching a woman to building real attraction. We just finished section 5 in the course, and you won't find this information on videos on my channel. It's easy to access with a secure payment option. Visit stoicapproachtolife.podia.com or click the link in the description to enroll now and improve your dating life. 1. Stop reassuring her constantly. One of the fastest ways to kill attraction and eliminate any chance of a woman fearing the loss of you is by constantly reassuring her. When you make it your job to keep reminding her that you're not going anywhere, that she has nothing to worry about, and that your feelings for her will never change, you're removing every bit of emotional tension that fuels her desire. Here's what most men don't realize. When you keep reassuring a woman, you're not building trust. You're sending the message that you're afraid of losing her. That kind of energy doesn't make her feel secure. It makes you look emotionally dependent. And the moment she senses that you're the one clinging to the connection, the power shifts. Women are drawn to men who are steady, but not needy. The more you try to convince her you're always going to be there, the more she starts to question why you're working so hard to prove it. The fear of loss only shows up when she's not 100% sure you'll stay no matter what. And that's where her effort begins, when she feels she has something to lose. Let's say you're dating a woman, and she starts asking questions like, "Do you still like me?" Or, "Are you mad at me?" Instead of rushing in to calm every doubt, you pause. You don't play cold, but you also don't jump to fix her feelings. You let her sit with that discomfort just long enough to realize you're not going to over-explain or plead for her peace of mind. That shift alone can create a massive change in how she views you. You're not being cold, you're being centered. You're showing that your world doesn't revolve around constantly proving yourself. And when she sees that, she starts leaning in. She starts thinking about what she can do to keep your attention, instead of just assuming it'll always be there. The truth is, women respect the man who doesn't feel the need to constantly reassure. They chase the one who knows his value and doesn't feel the urge to explain it every time she's feeling unsure. It's not your job to constantly manage her emotional security. It's your job to stay grounded and let her meet you halfway. The less you reassure unnecessarily, the more she begins to wonder where she stands. And that's exactly when the chase begins. 2. Ignore her when she pulls away. When a woman starts pulling away, getting distant, taking longer to respond, showing less interest, most men panic. They feel the shift and immediately go into overdrive. They start texting more, asking what's wrong, trying to fix something that hasn't even been explained. That reaction alone kills attraction because it shows one thing: emotional dependence. When you chase after a woman, the second her energy drops, you send the message that her distance controls you. She learns quickly that all she has to do is pull back, and you'll start working harder. You'll give more attention. You'll start proving your worth. That's exactly how you lose her respect. The better move? You ignore the distance. You don't reward it with extra effort. You don't chase after someone who's choosing to step back. Instead, you stay grounded, focused, and silent. That doesn't mean you're angry or playing a game. It just means you understand the value of your energy, and you're not going to throw it at someone who's not matching it. This is one of the hardest things for guys to do because it goes against everything we've been taught. We're told to communicate, to fight for love, to be emotionally available. But here's the truth. A woman's pullback isn't always about something deep. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes it's her trying to see how much power she really has over you. And the more reactive you are, the more control you give her. When you ignore the pullback and just keep living your life, something shifts. She starts to feel that you're not emotionally shaken. She realizes you're not going to chase. That's when she starts paying attention. That's when she starts feeling the potential loss. You didn't try to talk her out of leaving. You didn't beg. You just stayed silent and let her wonder. That's powerful. Women notice silence from a man who's usually consistent. And when that silence is paired with confidence, not passive aggression, it gets loud in her head. She starts questioning her choice to pull away. She starts thinking about how it felt when your presence was steady. She starts chasing because she doesn't want to lose something she now has to earn again. The bottom line is this. Reacting to her distance with more effort makes you look like you're trying to hold something together by force. Ignoring it puts the pressure on her to decide whether she values your presence or not. Let her feel that space. Let her feel the quiet. If she values you, she'll come back on her own. And this time, she'll respect you more than she ever did before. 3. Let her see you have options. Nothing triggers a woman's fear of losing you faster than realizing she's not your only option. That doesn't mean you have to be out dating 10 different women or constantly flirting around. It means you move in a way that shows your life is full, socially, mentally, emotionally. That you're not depending on her attention to feel validated or complete. Too many men, once they like a woman, drop everything else. They stop seeing their friends, they cancel their routines, and they make her the focus of their day. It feels like commitment, but it comes across as desperation. She starts to sense that your world is shrinking around her, and the more it does, the less she respects it. Women want a man who's already in demand, not just by other women, but by life itself. They want to feel like they've been chosen, not like you've just been waiting for someone to fill the space. When she realizes that you're not trying to trap her into commitment, but instead you're simply choosing to give her a spot in a life that's already rich and active, she values it more. Letting her see you have options changes the dynamic. It keeps her attentive. It reminds her that your time isn't guaranteed. You're not being cold or distant. You're being selective. You're not rushing to lock something in. You're letting things unfold naturally. And you're showing her that if she doesn't match your energy, you're not afraid to move on. This doesn't just apply to dating other women. It applies to the way you spend your time. When you're consistently busy building yourself, whether that's through work, hobbies, health, or your social life, you stop looking like a man who needs a relationship, and you start looking like a man she doesn't want to lose. That shift is massive. And the best part is, you don't have to say a word about it. You don't have to prove anything. When you live like a man with options, people feel it. Your energy changes. Your communication becomes lighter, less urgent. You're not pushing anything forward. You're simply moving forward, with or without her. This is what creates pressure in a good way. She feels the competition, not necessarily from other women, but from the quality of your life. She knows that if she doesn't stay consistent, she could be replaced. Not because you're being petty or calculating, but because you've built a life where you don't need to hold on to anyone just to feel whole. When she sees that, the fear of losing you becomes real. And that's exactly what makes her chase. 4. Never explain yourself too much. A major mistake that keeps men stuck in weak positions with women is over-explaining themselves. Whether it's justifying why they didn't text back right away, over-explaining their actions, or constantly trying to make sure she doesn't misunderstand, it all comes from the same place, the fear of losing her. But here's the reality. When you feel the need to constantly explain yourself, you're giving away your power. You're saying, I hope this is okay with you. You're seeking approval without even realizing it. And that puts her in control of how the dynamic plays out. Women don't want a man who's constantly trying to smooth things over. They want a man who says what he means, does what he says, and leaves it at that. No extra commentary, no nervous explanations, just confidence in his own decisions. That's what creates respect. That's what keeps her wondering about you, instead of feeling like she's your emotional supervisor. When you keep explaining your every move, you come across as uncertain. And uncertainty is unattractive when it's coming from a man. You don't need to convince her that your choices make sense. You need to stand by your choices without being rattled by how she might react. This doesn't mean you become cold or careless. It means you stop talking so much when nothing needs to be said. You stop trying to manage her emotions. You stop apologizing for things that don't require an apology. You trust your own actions and let her respond how she chooses. The more you explain yourself, the more she sees you trying to protect the connection. And the more she sees you doing that, the less value she places on it. Why? Because she knows you're trying harder than she is. That kills the tension that keeps attraction alive. When you say something, say it once and move on. If she wants to question it, let her. If she wants to assume something, let her. You don't need to chase clarity with someone who's emotionally mature. They'll come to you if they need understanding. And if they don't, you're not responsible for running around trying to clean it up. Every time you over-explain, you trade self-respect for temporary peace. But when you let go of that habit, you start moving like a man who doesn't fear loss. You say less, mean more, and keep the frame in your hands. That's the kind of presence a woman takes seriously. The less you explain, the more she respects what you say. Let your actions speak. Let your boundaries stand. That's how you make her feel like she could lose something solid. And that's what keeps her chasing. 5. Walk away. When disrespected. One of the strongest ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you is also the simplest. Walk away the moment she disrespects you. Not after the second or third time. Not after you've tried to explain your worth. The first time she crosses that line, you respond with distance, not words. The biggest reason most men get stuck in bad dynamics with women is because they tolerate behavior that chips away at their self-respect. They let comments slide, they laugh off subtle jabs, they ignore disrespectful tone shifts, all in the name of keeping the peace. But what's really happening is this. They're teaching her that there are no consequences for treating them poorly. You don't build respect by demanding it. You build it by showing that you'll leave the moment it disappears. Let's say you're with a woman who suddenly starts making passive-aggressive remarks in front of her friends. Maybe she mocks something you said or talks down to you to get a laugh. You feel it. It hits different. Now most guys would either brush it off, awkwardly smile, or pull her aside later to explain how they didn't like it. But all of that is still a form of trying to fix things without real boundaries. Now picture this instead. You stay silent, you don't react emotionally, and you cut the interaction short. You tell her you're leaving, and you actually leave. You don't text her to explain. You don't apologize for your reaction. You simply show that you don't stay where you're not respected. That kind of move is unforgettable. It hits harder than any argument. It creates a moment where she's forced to think. She starts realizing she may have crossed a line she can't walk back from. And that's exactly when the fear of loss sets in. Because now you're not just saying you have standards, you're showing it. You don't need to scream, guilt trip, or argue. Your silence and distance do the talking. Walking away communicates more than words ever could. It says, I'm not here to tolerate disrespect, and I don't need this connection to survive. Men who can walk away instantly when disrespected are rare, and that's why they get treated differently. Because they're not chasing approval, they're living with principles, and women feel that. It makes them step up. It makes them think twice. And most importantly, it makes them respect you on a level that words can't reach. So don't fight for someone to treat you better. Show her what happens when she doesn't. 6. Delay your responses on purpose. One of the most overlooked ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you is by simply not being instantly available all the time. That includes how quickly you respond to her messages. Most guys think quick replies show interest or good communication. In reality, they often reveal a lack of boundaries, purpose, and self-control. When a woman sends a message and gets a response within seconds, every single time, she begins to assume that you're always waiting. She starts thinking you don't have much going on. She stops seeing your time as something valuable. And that's exactly when the dynamic starts to shift in the wrong direction. Delaying your responses isn't about ignoring her or being rude. It's about showing her, without saying a word, that you're not glued to your phone waiting to connect. You're busy, you're living, you're not sitting there hoping she'll reach out. That kind of energy is powerful because it quietly tells her you've got your own world to handle. And when she feels that, it creates tension. It makes her curious. It makes her wonder what's taking you so long, what you're up to, who has your attention. That sense of uncertainty is a huge part of attraction. Not because it's a game, but because it brings her back to the emotional state where she starts thinking about you again. If you're always replying instantly, there's no build-up, no space, no room for her to feel anything between messages. It becomes predictable, and when things are predictable, they become dull. But when there's space, when she doesn't know if you'll reply right away or later, every message you send has more weight. She reads it more carefully. She responds with more energy, because now she knows your time isn't guaranteed. This isn't about texting rules or trying to play hot and cold. It's about pacing your energy. You're not rushing. You're not reacting out of emotion. You're choosing when and how to engage. That alone shifts the frame. You go from being the man who's always available to the man she's hoping to hear from, and that changes everything. When you delay your responses on purpose, you train her to value your attention. You show that your communication isn't a given. It's a decision. And that decision becomes something she starts looking forward to. She starts checking her phone more often. She starts wondering about your day. And eventually, she starts chasing your presence. Not because you disappeared, but because you stopped acting like you had nothing better to do. Let your response time reflect your priorities. That alone builds pressure, and pressure creates pursuit. 7. Keep your emotions in check. This is where a lot of men need to get brutally honest with themselves. If you lose control of your emotions every time something shifts with a woman, if you react with anger, panic, neediness, or confusion, you're handing over your power. And once that power is gone, the fear of losing you disappears with it. You can't expect a woman to respect you if you're always reacting to her every mood. Attraction isn't built on emotional instability. It's built on presence, consistency, and control. A woman will test you, whether she knows she's doing it or not. She'll challenge your confidence, question your decisions, pull back, or act distant. And if your first instinct is to fall apart emotionally, chase her down, or beg for clarity, you've already lost the frame. A lot of men were never taught emotional discipline. They think showing love means showing everything, every doubt, every fear, every complaint. But what ends up happening is they emotionally dump on women who aren't equipped to handle that, and then feel rejected when she pulls away. Here's what men need to understand. Emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about learning how to process those emotions before reacting. You feel frustrated? Take a breath. You feel disrespected? Step away before saying something out of pocket. You feel confused? Sit with it for a bit before trying to solve it with a 5-paragraph message. The man who keeps his emotions in check sends a clear message. He's not controlled by anyone else's behavior. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's what makes women start to wonder, what would it feel like to lose him? Because now she sees a man who isn't easily shaken, who doesn't get pulled into emotional chaos, who's solid, no matter what. So here's the wake-up call. Stop wearing your heart on your sleeve every time things don't go your way. Start carrying yourself like a man who's seen life, who's felt highs and lows, and who refuses to fall apart just because someone else is being inconsistent. You can't build attraction through emotional breakdowns. You build it by being the calm in the middle of her storm. You build it by making her realize that no matter what mood she's in, you're still in control of yours. That's what triggers her respect. That's what triggers her fear of losing you. She doesn't need another emotional mess. She needs a man who knows how to handle pressure. Be that man, and watch how her behavior shifts. Let's end this with a simple but uncomfortable fact. The moment a woman feels like she has you emotionally locked in, she stops fearing the idea of losing you. And that's when she starts pulling away. Most men create that exact dynamic by accident. They give too much. They respond too fast. They get too emotional. And slowly, without realizing it, they hand over every bit of leverage they had. If you want to be the man she chases, you can't make her feel like your attention is permanent. You have to move like a man who values himself more than he fears losing anyone. You don't build that overnight, but the second you start, women feel the shift. You become the one she studies, the one she works to keep, the one she's afraid to lose. I want to hear from you. What's been your experience with this? Have you seen the moment things flipped? Maybe you gave too much too soon, or maybe you've started moving differently and saw her energy change. Drop your story in the comments. I'm not just posting and disappearing, I'll be replying. I want to hear what you've been through and what's finally making sense. This channel isn't about fancy dating advice. It's about waking men up and getting real results. We're building something here, and you're part of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.